Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. George, I'm so excited to have you, and we are recording on the day that your book is coming out in the US. So, congratulations. This is such a big moment.
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, you're my first podcast actually on Pub Date. So I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, yes, amazing. No, this is so good. Okay, so before we get into the book and all the different things I want to talk about with you, I have to find out a little bit more about how did you realize or step into being a psychic healer? I'm always so curious. Like, was this something with you in childhood? Did you figure this out later in life? Like, how did it all come about?
That's a great question. Unlike most psychics, I don't think I was born particularly talented. I really worked my ass off to do this. And as a result of I've grown a brand all around helping people from all parts of life who may not consider themselves to be intuitive or psychic to develop their psychic abilities because I realized that we are all born psychic. We're just, some people are more talented than the others. Some people work harder than the others. But if you put in the work, consistent work, not necessarily hard work, but consistent work, then you can get to a point where you can be not just good, but like one of the best in the industry. So it was through hard work that I ended up being here. That being said, if I go back to like my early memories, I was always like weird kind of kid that spent time out in nature, like talking to the plants and asking life's big questions while everybody else was in the like playground.
Mhm.
So there was definitely a draw into spirituality, but I was not seeing spirits, for example, like as a young kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's so interesting. I believe that too, that we all have, these abilities that a lot of times we don't even realize we have. And I almost feel like we're kind of conditioned to ignore those things in, our school system and things like that. And I don't know about you, but I have been feeling like lately, I don't know, I feel like my intuitive abilities are like kicked into full gear. And I don't know if it's, we're just evolving, we're in this new era, if it's like the solar flares or what it is, but it's like I've been noticing a lot of other people saying that too. So I think it's a great time where people are going to start realizing that they have abilities too and hopefully start tapping into those.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is partly the time that we live in. We are in a transitioning point when it comes to the Earth's timeline and the human experiment, where we're expanding into a new era, a new golden age. And as a result, there are many light workers, like people who are mature souls that have been incarnating for many lifetimes coming in right now to help in this transition. And that's why many people are just fully awakening right now and they're ready to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. And I can feel it. I feel like we're on the verge of just some really major shifts, but like in a good way, like just stepping into abundance and everything. So, okay, so your book, we got to get into the book because it's out today. It's called Ancient Manifestation Secrets: Working with the Seven Laws of the Universe to Manifest Your Life and Purpose. All right, tell me about this. How did you come up with the idea for it? Like what sparked the inspiration?
Yeah. So, like most people, I learned about manifestation via The Secret, the book, and the movie. And for many years, I worked with the law of attraction to manifest my desires through the traditional manifestation techniques we all know and love, like vision boards, affirmations, manifestation boxes, visualization techniques, etc. And they all work great, and I still use them to this day. However, I felt there was something missing. I felt that process and the whole teaching about manifestation was missing purpose. It was all coming from a place of ego, like, okay, how many things can I have? How can I focus my mind to obsess about something to draw it into my life? Nothing wrong with manifesting material things. I love them. But where was the purpose behind that? Where was the authenticity behind that? So I wanted to learn ways of manifesting in a more holistic way that does not ignore negative emotions and thoughts. Again, that's something that many manifestation teachers are against, like talking about negative emotions and beliefs and doing the inner work. And I wanted a more pragmatic and a deeper way to manifest. So right about that time, 2017, I was transitioning to Hellenic polytheism, the spirituality, the religion of my of my ancestors, the ancient Greeks, and I became a priest to the religion, and I wrote my book, Secrets of Greek Mysticism, all about that. So I was diving deep into the ancient Greek texts. And that's when I'm like, okay, let me see what the ancient Greeks taught about manifestation. And I was surprised to find out they talked a lot about manifestation without using that term and without using the word law of attraction or anything like that. But the principles were there. Specifically, I found them very neatly organized in Hermeticism, the philosophical school in later antiquity that combined ancient Greek and ancient Egyptian teachings. Summarized in the book, The Kybalion. It's not an ancient book, but it talks about ancient traditions, talking about the 7 laws of the universe. And that's when I realized, oh my goodness, like there's so much more depth here. It's not just about the law of attraction being the most powerful law in the universe. Like it's not more powerful than the law of gravity. You cannot fly and you cannot change the eyes of your the color of your eyes just by thinking about it. Like there are biological and physical laws that the law of attraction cannot go against. And there are also other laws of the universe that we can work with to help us manifest our desire in a collaborative way with the universe, not just expecting the universe to do all the work, but us collaborating as well.
Oh my gosh. Okay, everything you're saying, we're on like the same frequency right now because this is so much of what's happened to me this year. And first of all, when you're talking about like manifesting material things, I have always been very, I need my money goal. I need my, whatever that material thing is that you can really quantify. And this year that kind of all went out the window. And it was more like an internal, knowing that regardless of what I have externally, I'm good on the inside. And then going through that and seeing things just manifesting without me even really thinking about it or having to affirm it or having to write it out. And it's just been this like whole change or shift, I should say, in the way that I'm looking at manifesting, the way I'm approaching it. And it's so funny because last night I was talking with my husband about all of this stuff that you just mentioned. And I came across this video where someone was saying, like, yeah, it's not in the Bible. A lot of people don't realize, but that Jesus had went to Egypt at one point in time to study like the ancient Egyptian like scripts and things like that. And so we had a whole conversation last night about this and how I wonder how many texts there are that people don't even know about or maybe haven't been translated, but that completely align with manifesting, for example, and have like all of these answers we're always seeking, but we've just never, they left that out or they couldn't translate it or whatever. So it's like I have chills hearing you talk about this.
Yeah, yeah. That's the same thing with like the ancient Greek texts, because when I wrote my previous book, Secrets of Greek Mysticism, I got a lot of hate from the English speaking community because they couldn't find what I was referencing out there. And I'm like, I'm a native Greek person. I read the ancient Greek texts in Greek. Many of them have not been translated, so not everything is out there to consume. And that's why I wanted to write a book about the Greek gods and goddesses in the first place. And I keep on writing about ancient like traditions because a lot of it is not out there because it hasn't been translated. And it's a pity to let that wisdom like just go unnoticed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the things that maybe people weren't open to before because of, again, we've been so conditioned to believe, a certain thing from school or religion or whatever. But again, like I feel like there's this shift happening where people are hungry for this knowledge and kind of waking up to maybe everything isn't exactly as we've been told. Maybe there is more. And I think that's where you come in and you're sharing this. And I think we're in a space now where people are going to be very receptive to it. That's my feel
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, and you talked about like as soon as you let go of your goals, of what you wanted to manifest, things started manifesting. I want to share a little bit about that because I've also experienced this. Now, in the book, I talk about the 7 laws of the universe. One of the laws is the law of cause and effect. Now, the law of cause and effect teaches that for every effect and therefore for every manifestation, there has to be a series of causes. Keyword series of causes. Now, traditional manifestation teachings say that the only cause to an effect is our vibrational frequency. and therefore our thoughts and our emotions and how that change our vibrational frequency. But there are little known causes that we don't take into consideration. For example, karmic contracts, promises we made in past lives about what we want to experience in this lifetime, pre-birth plans about the lessons and the events we want to experience in this life, soul contracts with other people and the karmic relationships we have with them, collective manifestation. We all manifested a world with COVID in it. We could not avoid that. It was a collective manifestation. Our soul purpose, which is fulfilled over several lifetimes as our soul goes on ascending. So we keep forgetting that we have all these other factors interfering with the manifestation process. And then when we try to like visualize hard enough and we don't get where we wanted, we're like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. No, you're not. There are other reasons and factors that you're not taking into consideration. So let's bring them into the picture and give ourselves some grace.
Yeah, maybe you can expand on this a little bit because one of the things that I'll hear a lot, a question that I'll get is, well, this terrible thing happened to me. And so I must have manifested it. Like it's somehow my fault because I must have called that in, but that's not the case at all, right? It's like everyone is co-creating and everyone has free will, and you can't really bend the will of someone else if they decide to fly off the handle and do something crazy, for example, right?
Yes, yes. A lot of the things we experience, like the significant things we experience in our lives, were like planned in our pre-birth plan. Like before we're born, we have a soul group and we decide to take roles in each other's lives to experience different things so our soul can learn lessons so we can grow, because our soul expands consciousness through emotions, and emotions are experienced through experiences. And therefore, we have all those plans taking place. That being said, there is free will as well. And I want to share a little bit about like how the ancient Greeks perceived that, because there is so much wisdom in that. They talked about the three fates. The first fate planned the main events in life, in a person's life. The second fate weave them together and therefore manifesting them into creation. And the third fate took the person's life at the end of their lives. And therefore that they're called the fates because certain things are fated. Keyword though, well, not keyword, but those fated things are essentially fated opportunities, not necessarily fated events. So the opportunity to experience something is there, but then we have the free will to choose. Am I going to take this opportunity right now, or am I going to shelf it for something else? And that's why in the ancient oracles, such as the Oracle of Delphi, there's the Oracle of Delphi predictions are getting a lot of hate because they're very ambiguous. But the reason they are ambiguous is because the gods cannot tell humans, this is what's going to happen, this is fated. What the oracle prophecies did, they provided people with all the information so that they could make an informed decision. So nothing is fated. The opportunities are fated. And then most of the time, our soul, through our ego, chooses to follow those opportunities because we agreed that they're going to help us grow. So yes, when something shitty happens, chances are, not 100%, we chose it to some degree before we were born.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And sometimes, I wonder that, like, if we chose it, maybe one of the reasons we chose that is so that we can then take that experience and that's going to end up somehow turning into our purpose where we're helping other people going through the same thing. Because I see that a lot too. And it's like if you hadn't
Exactly.
experienced it, you wouldn't be able to help all of these other people that are now experiencing the
Yes.
same thing.
Yes. My life is a story. Like it's basically the result of that. I almost took my life when I was 15 years old because I was gay in a country that rejected it, and I was bullied a lot throughout my life. But if I hadn't gotten through that experience and reached that low psychological state at that point in my life, I wouldn't be here today doing this work and writing like my fifth book right now. I wrote my first book after I healed myself from all the judgment I faced in my childhood. And I wanted to share those tools with people to help them be their own guru. It's called Be the Guru, that first book. And that led me on a different path eventually. And here I am writing about manifestation. But it all started from that event or series of events in my life that, to some degree, my soul intended to experience for me to be more resilient and grow and learn and help more people.
Wow, that's amazing. It's great that you've been able to come so far with this and it kind of led you on this path to, your purpose. So in the book, are you going over the different hermetic principles? Is that sort of the way it's structured?
Yeah, so the first part is I explain the 7 hermetic principles in a simple and understandable way with examples and stories. And then in the second part, that's when it gets woo-woo. It's when I teach a brand new manifestation technique because I'm a psychic healer. I work with the aura, with the energy field. So I have this new process of manifesting with the energy field. And therefore, planting your desires in your field and then reaching out energetically and connecting them through energetic cords to people, companies, spirit guides that can help them manifest. And therefore, you're manifesting from an energetic perspective while at the same time using any other process you want to use. This process works with all the other manifestation tools. And I want to share a little bit because it sounds woo, but there is logic behind it. If you think about desires as ideas, they have consciousness. I think of our desires as these orbs of light, and they like fly around the world, wander around the world, searching for compatible hosts. And once they find a compatible host, they will make contact and be like, "Hey, you want to help me come into the world?" If we see and we hear that intuitive guidance and we grab that desire, I'm like, "Oh, yes, I can help you do that." And then we start nurturing the energy of that desire with our thoughts, with our emotions, with our actions, etc. If we ignore it, we ignore that desire, it eventually will move on to another host. And that's why we have ideas. And then we notice that someone else took that idea and made it a reality because that idea left and went to a different host. And therefore, what I do is I make this process conscious instead of letting it up to chance. I'm like, okay, here are your desires that you've taken time to first identify that are aligned to your life purpose. That is the first step to my process. Find your life purpose, and I explain how in the book. And then choose desires aligned to that. And then let's plant those desires in the energy field. Let's connect them with frequencies. Let's raise your vibration. Let's call in telepathically people, entities, organizations that can collaborate with you into bringing them to life.
Oh, this is so incredible. I'm telling you, like everything you're talking about, I feel like I have been talking with someone and you came on my path at this specific day for a reason because this has been like my whole week. My friend was just talking about this. She's writing a book as well. And, just around like the fear of putting it out there. And I brought that up. I'm like, well, what if this idea, you don't act on it? And then it goes to someone else and they do, and they get like whatever, the Netflix deal or whatever it is. And she was like, you're right. And then we were talking about how there are studies where they've seen that before technology, before we were all communicating on different continents all the time, there would be someone on one continent that would have an invention and someone on another, like the same time, the same exact invention. And it's this whole idea that it's this consciousness that like we're tapping into that, we're downloading these ideas. And if you don't take that opportunity, it will be passed on to someone that will. And it's like,
Yes.
for me, it's such a good way to be like, stop second guessing yourself. If you're getting that inspiration, get moving on it, right?
Yes. And the way I manifested this book was through this exact process. It's very meta. So I wrote this book in 2021. I went to Delphi in Greece and I spent 10 days there channeling the book. I was so excited. It was like a brand new technique. And then I pitched it to my publisher, and my publisher rejected the idea. They're like, it's too advanced. People are not ready for it. Why don't you write a book about the Greek gods and goddesses? I'm like, okay. So I shelved this book and I wrote Secrets of Greek Mysticism that came out this year in April. But at the same time, I'm a Leo. I'm like, I don't accept no's. I'm like, I'm not going to let a publisher dictate when I will publish my book. I'm going to find another publisher. I love this Kris Jenner quote. She said, if someone says no, you're talking to the wrong person. I'm like, the wrong publisher. I'm going to find a different publisher. So I found a different publisher to publish this book. That's why it came out 2 books, same year, 2 different publishers. However, it took 4 years for this book to manifest. it was the right timing for it. And the reason it manifested now and the idea did not move on to someone else is because I kept that idea consciously in my energy field. And every single day, I nurtured the energy of that idea through meditation, through visualization, through making connections and sending cords out to publishers. I was keeping my focus there. And even though the book was written and I was writing another book at the time, the energy was still activated within me and I was nurturing that. And then at the right time, when all the various causes like collaborated with each other, the book came at the right time. And it couldn't have come out in 2021 because my audience needed to know about the Greek gods and goddesses and my perspective about the ancient Greeks before they were ready for this book that is essentially a sequel.
That is such a good lesson for when something looks like it's not going to happen, but it happens anyways because you kept the faith. You didn't just give up. You didn't let one person, tell you it's not possible. You kept going. But it's so different from at least what most of us experience before we have this knowledge, where someone tells you no and you're like, well, that's it. I tried. It didn't work out. Manifestation doesn't work. My idea was bad. We beat up ourselves. But that's just such a beautiful instance of like, okay, I'll just find another publisher because I know that this is meant to be. And here, look at you now.
Yeah, don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that. Okay, so maybe you could tell everyone like where can they get the book? Where can they follow you, connect with you, all the things?
Of course. So, Ancient Manifestation Secrets, it's available everywhere books are sold. If you go to ancientmanifestationsecrets.com, when you get the book, you also get a free workshop with me, which is a past life regression where I take you to your past lives to retrieve manifestation skills you have like mastered in your past lives and bring them into your present lifetime. So you can go to ancientmanifestationsecrets.com for that. You can follow me on Instagram at George Lizos. And please DM me. I reply to all my DMs. I love hearing from people and supporting you through your journey.
Oh, amazing. I will link all that in the show notes. And George, thank you so much for coming on. You're just such a beautiful soul and all of the work that you're putting out there. Like, this is divine timing. I mean, I can just feel we're all ready for it. So bring it on. I want all of it. And you're, taking that call and it's going to help a lot of people. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. You can check out all those links in the show notes and we'll see you back here next time.